What's up guys, Dr. Zed here, and in today's video of understanding pain, I will be going over how pain is modulated or controlled by the brain. But before we get into any of that, if you haven't yet subscribed, be sure to click that subscribe button. And also, if you missed out on the last video where we were talking about how pain is transmitted to the brain, be sure to check that one out first, because it'll make this video a whole lot easier to understand. I'll put a link in the description for the last video, and also in the eye somewhere in this video. Now, let's get on to the actual content. From last video, just a little recap. If you remember, noxious signals or nociception is transmitted via A delta and C fibers. These synapses or join up in the dorsal root ganglion, which then enter the spinal cord. From there, it crosses midline and then goes up into the thalamus, which is the central relay center for the entire brain. In today's video, I'll be talking about how pain is kind of modulated or controlled. Basically, the perception of pain that you feel can either be increased or decreased based on different things that are happening. So here we see what's known as bottom up. This basically just means it's coming from the tissue and it goes up into the brain. So with both bottom up and top down that we'll be covering later, there's what's known as inhibition, where you're feeling less pain, and there's activation, where you're feeling more pain. So with inhibition, how you can actually end up feeling less pain is you happen to activate non-noxious stimuli at the same time that you're activating noxious stimuli. So I'll use a perfect example for this. Say you're pinching the skin on the back of your hand. You pinch to just about where you start feeling a little bit of pain. So at this point, the nociceptors are activated, of course, because this is very unpleasant. But from there, if you end up pushing into your hand, you'll actually notice that the pain decreases a little bit. And the reason for this is when you push into your hand, you're actually activating the mechanoreceptors, or the receptors responsible for picking up pressure, if you remember from that second video. So a combination of non-noxious stimuli and noxious stimuli, when these are added together, it kind of cancels itself out a little bit. And then the resulting sensation then ends up going to the brain where it's perceived. So that is inhibition from bottom up. Now, if you're talking about activation for bottom up, this is basically means that you're feeling more pain. So, for example, you're pinching your hand, right? You keep pinching it, and you keep pinching it. And you'll probably notice that the longer you pinch it, the more pain that you're feeling. Basically, what's happening here is the nociceptors are, they're firing nonstop. They're continuously firing because the noxious stimuli is constantly there. The pinch is constantly there. This is how you actually end up feeling more pain. Now, another example would be if a large area of nociceptors are activated at the same time. For an example, in a large burn. If you happen to have a really large burn, you're getting a lot of nociceptors that are activated and you will feel a lot of pain. So this is basically bottom up from the tissue itself. Now let's talk about top down, which is basically coming from the brain down into the tissue. And as usual, there's inhibition where you feel less pain and activation where you're feeling more. So in terms of top down, basically everything is related to what do you know is happening. It's like, do you know exactly what's going on with the pain that you're feeling? So for example, a boxer, he keeps punching the punching bag. It probably hurts the first few times that he's punching it. In the very beginning, when he just started training for boxing, he's punching that bag and oh my God, it hurts a lot. Give him about a week. He'll probably know that, or he'll probably start feeling that it doesn't hurt so much. And partly that's due because the nerve receptors are kind of used to the sensation that they're feeling. But the other part is that the brain kind of understands what's going on. It's like he's just punching the bag. There's no real significant damage. So the brain kind of automatically downplays the amount of pain that it's feeling. That's basically what top-down inhibition is. It's pain education and conditioning. Either consciously, where a doctor would tell a patient that the pain that you're feeling is actually not necessarily straight up tissue damage, it's just residual pain, or it's by conditioning, kind of your body gets used to the sensation that it's feeling. On the other hand, top down can also be activated. And in cases like this, Some people may actually do what's called catastrophizing. They will kind of blow up what's going on. So they might have a little cut, but to them, they feel that it's a really big deal. And when that happens, when they feel like something is a really big deal, that can actually end up to causing them to feel more pain than what is actually happening. So just to recap, I know this was a lot today. As before, noxious stimuli, now we know how it gets to the brain, so we'll skip all that. Goes to the thalamus, which is the central relay center for the entire brain. And here we can actually see that if non-noxious stimuli and noxious stimuli, say we add them together, are both transmitted to the thalamus at the same time, it kind of cancels each other out. And this basically is the bottom-up inhibition, or sometimes activation, if you will, of modulation. So from that point, it goes into the processing centers of the brain. Basically, the brain kind of understands what's going on. And then from that, we can actually get some top-down modulation. Either we activate it or we inhibit it. We feel more pain or we feel less pain. And basically, that's what I have here, cognitive modulation. The brain kind of changes the amount of pain that it feels. And then we end up feeling pain, either a lot or less. So again, I hope you guys liked the video. I know this one was fairly in-depth and had a lot of information. If you liked the video, be sure to click that like button. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay alive.